I'm going to play a song that I wrote called Softer Sometimes.
Hi, I'm Sarah Parker Grubb and you're watching The What Is Art Show. Find out more at thewhatisartshow.com or just whatisartshow.com.
Saw him today and I could meet his eyes, and I could walk in stride, 'cause you were on my mind. Thought I'd be waiting in blue, but maybe you could leave it, didn't have a clue. Stepped out of the window of my mind, well, I just sit and find it's hard to see your face, 'cause I cried louder, softer sometimes, till I'd seen you through. Don't believe it's true, I think it's what you make it. I think that's why we break it all off so soon. Maybe we could wake it, give a chance to take it, before the world forsake it. It's a bridge I'll never burn. The sand and the glass, it just runs through, oh me, oh you and yours. 'Cause I cried louder, softer sometimes, till I see you through. 'Cause I cried louder, softer sometimes, till I see you through, till I see you through. 'Cause I cried louder, softer sometimes, till I see you through. 'Cause I cried louder, softer sometimes. 'Cause I cried louder, softer sometimes. 'Cause I cried louder. 'Cause I cried louder. Softer sometimes.
So I did a painting based on the I Ching, or I Ching, I Ching. I can't say it right, but you get the gist. And I only added each hexagram as I got it, so that I would know what the energy of each one was. But then I took a break from it for a while, and I just got inspired to dust it off and get it back out and do this art series in the order of the I Ching. So the first one, the creative, was Heaven Over Heaven. So this episode number 2 is the receptive, which is Earth Over Earth.
Just a brief, quick history to this book. It's one of those oldest books known to human beings, humankind, because we have records dating back like a few thousand years. It started off with this legendary figure, actually, by the name of Fu and way back, some historical dating back 4,000, 5,000 years. And he was the man or legendary figure that started this. And then about 3,000 years ago, 1,000 years before Christ, there's this man, and he's a historical person, and he started, he wrote the oracle, the words attached to the hexagrams, we call them. After you will see what is meant. And then after that, this is one of his sons. He died, and then one of the sons took over the writing, and the Duke of Zhou was the man who wrote the lines. So there are three things, three aspects to that one book. So it came down through history and through the dynasties in China. A lot of it survived the test of time. Okay, a quick word on here, like the beginning. There's just one beginning, and actually, in terms of the Chinese philosophy, the beginning is like void. There's nothing. So there's two. After that, then there were two things, in the yin and the yang, and they came into interplay. The interplay, and then after that, then the other things came about. So basically, in terms of life, as far as the book is concerned, there are two forces, the yin and the yang. So through the interplay, then everything came about. Now the yin-yang idea is slightly different from, say, the polar opposites. They are interdependent. Like one cannot do without the other; they just come into play. And through the yin-yang idea, if you put three of them together, this is attributed to Fu Si, the man on the left just now, and he started this thing. So three, we call them trigrams. These are called elemental forces, and then images, qualities, and relations. So on the right-hand side here, this one here that's the heaven, and then thunder. Here, water, mountain, earth, wind or wood, and then fire or lightning, and then the last one is the lake. So this sort of points to very elementary forces that affect us. And there are two arrangements. Some of you must have seen this arrangement. This is the first arrangement by the man on the left, the Fu Si, and it's polar opposites. So if you place the 8 trigrams like that into an octagon, then what you get is this Fu Si arrangement of the trigrams. And then later, King Wen's arrangement, cyclical. So he placed the trigram in this way to reflect the cyclical parts. So if you summarize the things around, there are two big things in life. Either you think of it as polar opposites, or else it's the cyclical thing. That's how the big ideas that is underpinning the book itself. Okay, if you stack them up like that, stack the two trigrams up like that, then what we get will be a what we call, of course, the hexagram. So two trigrams. So for example, then if you have wood, and then you sort of stack the water up, then what we have is actually then what we call the well. So this, like, if you have 3 of them, then it's a trigram. But if you stack them up like that, then we have what we call a hexagram. And each hexagram, there are 64 because there are 3, and then 8 times 8 is 64. Then each hexagram has a name. So there are 64 hexagrams, each one of them has a name. And then each hexagram has an oracle, or what we call judgment.
In many religions in the West are against tarot and see it as evil. I don't know what relationship that is.
Okay, it's a long shot here. As Chinese philosophy, we don't think in terms of the God and the devil. It's not like that. It's like there's this nature, natural parts, and then how it unfolds. And then the Tao is like a movement, a wave of movement coming up and down. The book is like a guide. You want to ride the waves. So if you see this big wave coming, you show us how you don't want to sort of run against it. I'll touch on this later on after I've sort of touched on it.
So what does the I Ching have to do with art? Well, nothing exactly, and everything. Just for me, and in this, it's representing the flow. All the complexities of the flow. Can you tell us a little bit about your background? And I watched your presentations that you gave at the Kent
Freedom Movement. Yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that and how you got into that?
Well, the Kent Freedom Movement, which I'd recommend that people look up their website, because there's lots of really, really good, not just my presentation, but lots of other people's presentations, and they do a lot of really, really good work. And the organisers, we've become friends, and essentially when we'd be out, like kind of go to the pub at night and we'd be talking, and I would talk about my interest, and they said, well, what you're saying, a lot of people aren't particularly focusing on, particularly the aspect of high art and how the kind of like say modern art was kind of corrupted in the like say early to mid 20th century. So they invited me to do a presentation for it, and it was a very, very good opportunity for me to just kind of put a lot of my ideas together, because I mean, you know yourself, Sarah, as an artist, you can have you'll notice things. You'll notice things, say, hang on, that's not right, but you'll put it to the back of your mind. And then after a while, if you're given a platform and an opportunity to talk about it, you begin to see a pattern emerge. You begin to see that these things that seem quite random and seem as by accident aren't by accident at all. Because well, what can I say? I mean, I did an art degree, and that was, I found it incredibly soul-destroying, incredibly depressing, because there was no tuition. It was made quite clear from when you went to art school that if you had any time for any kind of craft-based practice, that was just it. That was just, they turn up their nose at that. Everything had to be about your ideas and your concepts. And I would say, well, look, that's all very well. Anyone can have an idea. Kind of like jumping off a building and flying is a great idea, but it doesn't necessarily mean you can do it. And also because I'm a musician.
What in my opinion, Gavin, what they want to do is get people to focus on their emotions rather than any actual skill.
Absolutely, which is why as well you would have had, very interestingly enough, with a lot of the late 60s stuff, the accentuation of the Dionysian over the Apollonian. The more emotive over the reflective. But it seems to me that there's a choice between either essentially Marxism, statism, that is, or corporatism, capitalism, the free market, which isn't free at all because you need to be rich to be involved in it. Both, I think, had a fair crack of the whip in the 20th century and resulted in the deaths of countless people. But what I would say that both those have, be it statism and corporatism, both detest the individual, both detest the world of reflection, that is, of being able to contemplate, to go into oneself. I mean, it's interesting if you look at, like, say, how totalitarian regimes, and this goes for I think for fundamentalist religious movements as well, that they absolutely attack the inner world. You're not allowed the inner world. You're not allowed the reflective world. And art, craft, essentially you being able to go away and play Bach preludes and fugues on the piano, they don't allow that because that's a private culture. That's very serene and very beautiful and perfect. And there is a very, very much, because also as well, this is one of the things that I think about. If we consider, well, I mentioned, say, Bach, this is a kind of a flower of human consciousness. This shows what we're kind of capable as a species. And the move, certainly in the last 100 years, if not more, has been to equate us with being essentially just walking carrion. We're just briefly here to kind of, that we are basically just lumps of meat that mate and die, and that there is no kind of, like, say, spiritual or higher aspiration.
This is originally written for just one instrument, but we decided to both just play the same thing and multiply all the sounds by 2. And just,
It's also technically a dance. This is what people used to dance to. It's a little different than what we dance now, but if for some reason you feel like dancing anyway, you are allowed, technically. So
yeah, it's a minuet.
Technically.
Talk more about the symbolic art movement?
The symbolists, from the late 19th century, yeah. Well, there's many things that appeal to me about the symbolists. One is that the work of art itself, the content, isn't questioned, and in fact that's still of paramount importance, but it's imbued with a world of nuance. And there's in the presentation I was talking about the French poet and writer Stéphane Mallarmé, and he said to name an object is to suppress 3/4 of the enjoyment. Suggestion is the dream. Everything is about nuance and suggestion. So you have a piece of music, say Prelude La Première d'une Faune by Claude Debussy, which was inspired by this poem, The Afternoon of the Faun by Mallarmé, and it's full of suggestion. And when something is full of suggestion, it allows you in. You're invited in because you're invited to draw upon your own memories and your own associations. And I would contrast the symbolist movement then with, say, I used a piece by kind of like one of these contemporary, it's a piece from the 70s by this guy called Michael Craig Martin. It's called, the piece of work is called An Oak Tree. It consists of a glass shelf with a glass of water on it and an explanation underneath telling you precisely why it's an oak tree. Now, the symbolists would present you with a work of art. It would have a subject. You may or may not engage with the subject. That's all right, but you're allowed a space of contemplation. Whereas the contemporary art, or the Marcel Duchamp, like the urinal, it gives you nothing. There's no art there, you see. There's no alchemical process. There's no conversion of, like, say, the visual world or the imagined world into something that's experienced, that you can actually see and behold. But not only that, they don't allow you a negative space to experience the nothing. They then impose their explanation upon you. It's about this, it's precisely about this. And the symbolists were very, very much not about specifics. It was very, very much about the inner world, the inner landscape being boundless in its responses to a work of art.
In the works that you showed, everyone should watch that video because you give a lot of examples, but there's just like something you can almost feel stirring inside you when you see a painting that has that kind of expansive quality that, is like a lightness that happens inside or something.
Well, this is the thing, because I think that this is particularly true with, it wouldn't be confined to symbolism, but I would say this was very, very, very much the kernel or the key to art up until the 20th century, in that when it didn't essentially have a script telling you precisely what it was, what it would do is it could solidify a part of you that you were maybe not even aware of. I'm sure you've had that experience there. I think you were saying it there now when you see a painting and it seems to be a part of you. That's kind of, oh my God, you have a moment of recognition. This is one of the most powerful things that a work of art can do. It can basically give form, give sense, give meaning to these vague and mysterious feelings that we have going on around us. I mean, this is a wonderful thing. And this, you can see precisely why the whole kind of the process of degeneration, that is that what you see inside in yourself is something kind of horrible and rotten and maggoty instead. The thing is, you see, it's we've internalized this so much, this whole notion, I think, of like it's fake rebellion. To me, the most rebellious thing you can do in this day and age, you want to be an artist, is to draw properly. Right? That'll blow their minds. They can't handle that. You draw a picture of a plant, they will not know what to do. Right? But it's this ludicrous. I mean, I don't even go to these exhibitions. But there was an exhibition in London earlier this year, and it was an exhibition of the Impressionists. You know, we're talking Renoir, Monet. You know, well, very pretty stuff of, like, you know, women in gardens, and it's all dappled sunlight. And the title of the exhibition was something like kind of like the rage of the Impressionists, or the rebellion of the Impressionists. It's basically they were trying to angle it as being somehow subversive and transgressive and dark, because that's the only way that something is valid, you see, if it's transgressive and dark and subversive. You know, I mean, it's one of these things that strikes me is that people don't seem to realize that the world has changed radically in the last 100 years. Because, I mean, I'm really, really into a lot of, because obviously I mentioned symbolists, and I'm really into a lot of the art and the culture that was around the symbolists. Now, a lot of the symbolists, like, say, particularly the wing that were considered the decadents, were considered morally very, very dangerous at the time. But you see, they were functioning against a very, very buttoned up, very, very, I don't know how to describe it, uptight, but very, very kind of like, say, formal Christian culture. Nowadays, if you're being transgressive, you're kicking against a maggoty, rotten structure that's falling over anyway. You know, there's no rigor in it. That's my problem with it. You see, and a lot of artists people might think, oh, this is great, it's carrying on the tradition of, say, Verlaine or Jean Genet. Well, no, it isn't, because they were working in a completely different world. They were working against a very, very, very different cultural and moral standard. You know, we're basically in a world of absolute degeneracy. The most rebellious thing you can do is create something beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking on that, and how one of the ways that even for people that don't go to shows, the ways that they put this throughout everyone's mind is in different TV shows. We're always noticing when there's art in a TV show, it's something disgusting.
Yeah.
I was just looking up one of them last night because I had remembered something big about it, and it was on a Showtime series called The L Word. And the heroine of the show is like fighting. She works for this art center, and she's fighting to get in this show called Provocations, which is like this naked S&M.
Provocations is the edge of our present culture, where we stand to face ourselves before we jump into an unknown future. It's a triumph for you. Well, not for me, for the artists.
And the piece in the other room. Jesus is in me. That one's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, the artist is right over there, Isabella Fidel.
Here we go.
And that's through that, and then in the end she gets it in, and they're like, congratulations, this is a major achievement for you, and she's like, oh no, just for the artist. But
oh, I know. This is it. It's so, the thing is, it's so tired. It's so uninteresting. But of course, that's inevitable with the whole shock thing. Something that is drastically wrong culturally, that we don't seem to have a sense of delayed gratification. That is, we don't seem to have a way of kind of controlling ourselves.
The big difference in the internet is novelty. Even if we're not talking about porn, it's novelty. And novelty is highly stimulating. Anything new is highly stimulating. It activates...
What's the technical term for that?
I'm not sure, maybe supernormal stimulation or Coolidge effect. So what you have is novelty. And if we look at the brain, so what excites the reward circuitry? The reward circuitry is what motivates you to go after everything. It's lit up whenever you eat food, especially high-calorie food, whenever you achieve anything, when you have sex, when you fall in love, when you watch your favorite basketball game. All these things light up the reward circuit. Well, what lights up the reward circuit more than anything else, naturally, and that is sex. It's far higher than any other natural reward. But so does novelty. Anything new excites the reward circuit. Also, anything shocking or surprising activates the reward circuit. Like, think of someone going to a horror movie or bungee jumping. Those are sort of shocking and surprising. They activate the reward circuit. They activate dopamine. So what internet is, it's the perfect dopamine producing machine. Written words and pictures have been around for a long time, but when you put them together and you create Facebook, you actually have Facebook addiction. So you have internet addiction. We have 60 brain studies confirming the same brain changes in internet addicts that occur in drug addicts. So the internet is a different medium. And in that medium, you can take a mouse and you can control your arousal. And arousal means dopamine levels with a mouse, and you can keep them elevated for a long time.
And I think that because the social message or the media message does I think has had an impact in that. It feels good, so you do it, and there's no sense of consequence. You know, I mean, I'm very, very reluctant.
Isn't that a jingo? If it feels good, do it.
Probably it could well be, but I mean, the way I look at it, I mean, I know that people are still responsible for themselves and stuff like that, but at the same time, we're talking about a mass of people who are brainwashed and who are bombarded left, right, and centre, and people are being used against people. People are being used against, like, say, for example, the unemployed people are being used against the tax-paying people and stuff like that, and gay people are used against straight people. And so this is happening all the time, this manipulation of people. Again, you see, this is identity politics, where people are defined by, like, say, their gender or their economic bracket and stuff like that. All of the very notion of identity politics is to attack essential humanity, what we actually have in common, what common ground and what common needs we have. I'm more interested in looking at that, and I'm more interested in calling to account the forces that are facilitating this breakdown. Because the thing is that we have to remember that humanity is basically what distinguishes us from the vipers that control the appearance of this world. These hideous beings have no humanity, and it's our humanity that we don't see these barriers, or we don't see these labels, that we see, okay, well, we have a common humanity here. This is what we need to work towards. But it's very, very hard, you see, because we're being bombarded and brainwashed.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I would say is that the purpose of art, and the greatest thing, is that you can give form to something that is there, but otherwise nebulous and fleeting and gone. And it's what the Impressionists, like, they would debase their kind of, like, say, you know, capturing light, capturing the essence, and giving permanence to this fleeting sensation. Music is the embodiment of that, because it takes place in time. You have, like, duration, it starts and then it ends. And for that period, silence is broken and something happens. And this is a wonderful thing if people will give you their attention, that you can actually give form to these things. I would say it's essentially the reflection of our souls, and the beauty that resides within humanity and the natural world.
Yeah, beautiful.
I think that's what it is, but other people would say different things, of course. But I mean, I think that there's a very, very definite reason why the contemptible contemporary art we're talking about, the emphasis is on the scatological, the rotten, the maggoty, it's essentially to despiritualize our reality. We are merely appetites. We're merely appetites that can never be satisfied. It's somebody wrote about. It's one of my favourite books, Our Boer Against the Grain by J.K. Huysmans, French author from the late 19th century. Describes the character as his pleasures are finite, his needs infinite. You see, our needs are infinite, and they cannot be satisfied by, like, say, by our appetites. Our appetites in some way have to be sublimated. They have to be converted into something above, like, say, a sensation, like, say, a sexual sensation or a drug sensation or something like that, because that is fleeting and it's unsatisfactory. So we sublimate these things, and I think that this is one of the key drivers towards art, because our needs are infinite and can never quite be satisfied.
For me, I've tried to practice this myself as a improvising musician, to go into that meditative state where the music creates itself and you are merely a kind of vessel, interpreter. And we mentioned this earlier too. I mean, in a sense that, you know, all this stuff, it has its own life and vitality to it. So to be devotional, truly, like Hazrat Inayat Khan's writings, he kind of tries to bring this out. Music is the breath of life, it's the soul of the universe. And when you make music, you are mirroring the macrocosm in that moment, and indeed a part of it. So to me, you're merging with the cosmos and letting this music come through you.
My mind was on pray and sleep. Pray and sleep. Pray and sleep.
Hi, I'm Sarah Parker Grubb, and you're watching The What Is Art Show. You can find out more at thewhatisartshow.com or just whatisartshow.com. Thanks for watching, and check out more at my website, sarahgrubb.com. There you can get prints, mugs, bookmarks, all sorts of things, custom art. Thanks for watching, and stay engaged till next episode. Get out there, be creative, find your own artistic core, and then make yourself expressed. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.